Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor, and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Cancer. If Cancer is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. Okay, let's see. TT, you gotta go, and I gotta turn this cup. And so our card tonight is the Fool. Let's see what these tea leaves have to say. All right. Okay, so with that full energy, which I am so happy to see, there's a sense of being a bit more carefree in this cycle. Okay, so we have this really interesting image. It looks like a house or a castle. And I see that it has people on either side, kind of sitting on each side. And I almost feel like, well, I do. I feel very much like there's a sense of retreat into your own, your own world, into that place that feels like your home of homes, right? It could be a physical space. It could be into yourself, into those interior landscapes. I know we just talked about this. I think we had the Four of Discs lately. And I think that this really makes sense to me especially if you're in the northern hemisphere. We're in these colder months, darker months, and it makes sense to me that you would be drawn to this warm, furnace-like place. There is a warmth there. There is a sense of safekeeping, of inspiration coming from these deep, deep places. Like I imagine the cracks in the earth, right, going down these cavernous places into that volcanic energy. And it seems even you watery people are drawn to that warmth, so I can see that this is a time where you are really staying close to that which you have built for yourself. Okay, now I also see we have the two people on either side, and now as I look at this, it looks like we have a person who actually is down here too, holding up the house. You can see the head and the arm and kind of the body here, and so then we also have a bird of some kind, and it looks like an eagle. And if you look in the middle, it looks like we have a person right here with their arm raised up. Okay, so a mirrored sign you can see right here. And then the head actually also kind of looks like, it reminds me of an Egyptian glyph with the sun on the head there. So I do feel like this is a sense of things being fortified, being kept by those closer intelligences, those guardian angels, those ancestors, elders, household deities, those things that look over our home, look over our well-being, and all these things. But then we have the kind of, if you go up the ladder, down the ladder, however you look at it, there are the kind of more, now the household deities or the guardian angels, they'd be more of kind of like a micro, guardian, right? In the microsphere. And then the macro. We have these more kind of generalized, larger archetypal beings that kind of watch out over the larger scale, right? So I look at this and I think that you on many levels are protected. And this, I think, goes through not only lineage, but the work that you've done. In my mind, I'm thinking this is like very much attached to dharmic work. And this is through cycles of reincarnation or kind of the dispersion of consciousness over lifetimes. And that karmic and dharmic work this is where we pay off our karmic debts through the way that we live, right? Through our deeds, through, our spiritual evolution. And it really depends, there are a lot of, a lot of opinions about what that looks like. And sometimes it really just merely is giving up the complexity of our attachments, living a small life, and kind of stripping things down back to the most basic. And I see that there, you're what we would call like an old soul, right? You have aged wisdom. Hello, my love. Okay, but you can't just take over the whole desk, okay? You and TT tonight. Oh, go see Daddy. Go on. I love you. I can't hold you right now. You're going to get hair over me. So I feel like there's, and I think that you've probably heard this within your life, especially when you were younger, that you're wise beyond your years, that the way that people experience you, your intelligence, your creativity, your cleverness, your focus, and so on, as if you were much older than you are, right? And I think that's because you have been through many cycles, and have built up this kind of, kind of a team, right? Like a team of protectors, of companions in your path. And so when you go to this place that feels very much like that home place, it is kind of that gateway into the other side. This is where, you know how they say about like Halloween around that time, that the veil between life and death is very thin. Well, we also have places in our life where the veil between here and the borderlands, which are kind of those, if you could imagine that space where you're getting closer and closer to the dream realm, right as you fall asleep. You're not asleep, but you're not really fully awake either. You're beginning to have imagery come through your head. Your thoughts are drifting, and you're kind of in this in-between zone. Well, we have gateways like this in our life. If this is accessible through things like meditation, active imagination, vision, or path working, but it also can be physical spaces. These are, places like religious, communal spaces where rituals are done. It could be, I'm thinking of, having your own altars, temples out in the forests, just being among and within nature. I like to think of the bed as the same thing, your bedroom space, because this is where we do our dreaming. And I like to think of, your actual bed where you lay your head down and go to sleep. Whatever that looks like, if it's a couch, if it's a cot, if it's, a bed or whatever it is. This is kind of really your portal, right? And so, I can see that there's this draw to this work. Now, what else were we looking at? We had the being that was kind of holding up here. Okay. Yes. And this is kind of in the heart of this eagle. And the eagle, is obviously in this posture, it reminds me kind of a, maybe like a Horus, right? A Horus symbol, because we do have the solar disc right above head, and we have in the heart a person holding up, and it looks like an owl, actually. So there is a sense of great wisdom in that heart space as well. A very discerning heart, a heart that has weathered some things. That doesn't mean that you withhold, your heart, but it does mean that you like to think things through a little bit. You're not super whatever. You're careful with your heart, basically. And so we have that other person up there. It kind of almost reminds me of the alligator, and I forget, is it Sobek? I can't remember. But we do have this kind of the deity here, the glyph, and I don't really know the relationship of. I'm trying to think of what Sobek is even really about. I'm not even going to begin to guess. But I do think that there is kind of almost, that what I get from this is that there is almost a collection of divinities, of intelligences, of archetypes. I think that you are drawn to a great many of these personalities. And I think that you know them well. And I think that in some ways your life is kind of decorated with them. If that means, like, maybe you have statues. I have a lot of statues myself. I like to look at them and experience them. Some, feel more potent than others. They feel like they have the, and they feel like they really have the energy within them. And some of them I'm getting to know, right? It takes a little time. But I do think that maybe this is not unlike yourself. I feel like you have an understanding of, and maybe this is functional or not, maybe it's kind of like you've memorized these, you've read the mythologies, you're interested in a wide variety of religions and systems, and this is kind of, you've formed relationships with some of these deities and you carry them with you. And I think that, this is something that, it's something that is important to you. I think it's something that, it's kind of like if, you like are into fandom of some kind, you're into some universe like Tolkien, or I don't know, like you're a Marvel person or whatever. And these different archetypes are alive and well in all of the characters, right? Sometimes more overtly and sometimes not so much, but we do form relationships with them. And the gods of, many of the pantheons, they're not unlike our superheroes. I mean, they're very much, actually the superheroes, I would assume, or I guess, are very, they lean heavily on the goddess archetype. So it would make sense to me, and I think this is true, just being in different spiritual movements, or, reading and whatever, seeing different occult kind of social systems and things. There are a lot of people that find a lot of interest in knowing the gods and goddesses. So I think that this would make sense for a Cancer person. I think definitely to know the divine and know them well. Okay, so I want to look at this one up here. I really haven't turned it. Let's look at this. Let's turn this. Before I started doing my readings, I got stuck on those videos of people saving dogs, or like when they find stray dogs and they do the transformation or whatever. And nothing makes me well, it's not nothing, but one of the main things that makes me emotional is seeing animal videos like that. I get transfixed by them. So I felt like I was feeling pretty good. I was like, and then I saw these videos. Like, it really got right into my heart. Made me a little teary-eyed. Okay, so I want to look. We have a 7 right here. We also have, and it looks like we have somebody who is feeding somebody who is sitting down right here. Okay, the hand is raised and there's the person sitting. You can see the head and the body. Here's the head and the body of the person standing. Next to it, I also see a person who is kneeling in front of somebody else who is kneeling, face to face. So I do think that there is a sense of some kind of relationship that's very close. It's on, it feels like on a balanced plane. I wonder if this is maybe a spouse or a partner of some kind. And I really get the sense of taking care of one another, but also I feel like it's like a thing where you're very close, but you also really work so hard to allow each other to be whoever you are. Not getting lost in this relationship. And now this could be like a parent or something as well, or maybe you're the parent. But I think that this is something that's very beautiful, and I see this as really being just, like nose to nose, right? There's nobody who's on an elevated plane, right? Everything is kind of like teamwork and wanting to be there together and doing this thing, facing life together. And I think that you work very hard to honor your not just this relationship, probably all of your relationships, but allow the space and comfort of not, less judgment, right? So that the person or people who are close in your private life can be themselves, and so that you can also be yourself. And I've talked about this kind of energy before in my readings, and I'm always kind of, I'm taken aback. Like, I forget, how rare it is in life that we have relationships where we can be fully ourselves. I think so often, we have to hide aspects of our being. There's a lot of shame and guilt, or feeling too difficult or complex, or like, oh, maybe they won't understand, or whatever it is. And I think a lot of people live that way, and I know I have at times in my life, especially when I was younger. And so when I see this kind of energy, it makes me so happy to know that, you know, you're out there, you're being who you are, you're living how you want to live. You have people in your life who are supportive and who you are also supporting. And that is probably the most valuable thing as far as our connection to others. It's as good as it gets, really, you know, and such a blessing. Your tail is all wet. Have you been chewing on your tail? You're all wet there, kid. Okay, so let's see. We have the 7. We do have let's see, what else do we have? I'm not seeing I see 1 fish. So I don't think that this is necessarily a time where you're very super financially focused. I think a normal amount, things are stable and going well. A lot of birds though, so I think there's a lot of messages from the divine coming through. I feel like that makes sense. You're in your sacred space. You're in your abode. I like to call the bed like a spaceship, right? When you sleep and you get to travel space and time to go wherever it is that you want to go. And I hope that you are taking advantage of that. Okay, so we also have a ram right here, and you can see the antler and a bird right in front of it. And immediately I think of kind of a symbiotic relationship. And this kind of makes sense again, where there is a connection where there's taking care of one another. Nobody is just kind of you know, living off one another. Nobody's taking advantage. But I think that this is really a relationship where, you know, at least 2 beings come together and really figure things out. How are we going to get through this thing together? How are we really going to show up for one another? You know, and honor this, this union. And now this, again, it doesn't have to be romantic. This could be a family member. And you better bet that you, especially as you get older, you have to decide, right? Or if your children get older, they have to decide to want to be around you. Okay? You know, and we have to choose our family at some point. Once they stop being dependents and or you have stopped being a dependent, then you have to decide, I do want to have a relationship with this person, with my mother, my father, my grandmother, my grandfather, whoever, right? And I feel like you've fully chosen this person. Now, I do see, and we do kind of have the cross, the crucifix here. I don't often read for specific, you know, religious things, more generalized, but I do think that there's something here, you know, and I want to say that, you know, I usually think of it as like as sacrifice of faith, of giving of self for the greater good. Okay. But I also wonder if there is kind of this strong Christian or Christology kind of energy in your life right now. Maybe that is from you. Maybe this is your loved one. Okay. But, you know, whatever it is, here at this channel, I always like to mention, especially when we see very kind of like religion specific symbols and we're reading them that way. I say this a lot when we see this, the eternal heart, or is it the eternal heart? Yes. The heart with the flames, right? This kind of a Catholic symbol. But you know, here we honor everybody's path. Everybody's path is their own. And very, very big on religious tolerance. And also, you know, if you've seen my sets, you've watched my readings, you know, I'm a big, I like to partake in all kinds of deities, intelligences, symbols. Obviously, this is a kind of scrying where we use a lot of symbols, and so there's so much beauty in all of these things, and I feel so privileged to be able to have relationships with them, you know, and that's kind of what happens when you spend your time. It's not unlike tarot, you know, when you read tarot cards every day or often, you begin to form relationships with the different cards, with the different personalities of those archetypes, and how they kind of show up in your life, right? And so I feel lucky because the more I've done readings in this last year, and it's been over a year now, I guess, but I feel like I have like really, really formed and loving relationships with these kind of concepts and things. So let's take a look at the Mary Magdalene Oracle cards. These are from Megan Watterson, illustrations by Moonjube. And we're just going to flip through. I love these cards so much. They're kind of a collage and cut up. Okay, and this says the fifth power, I am a body and a soul. I am a body and a soul. And they're so pretty, aren't they? Yeah, I'm going through this deep Magdalena period in my life. And I do often. I have a beautiful icon of Mary Magdalene in my room, actually. And in this time of year, I don't know, I think about her a lot. And so, and I really like the, if you've never seen the artwork of the pendant Mary Magdalene, look those up. It's a beautiful motif. I like the ones where she's kind of looking in the mirror and there's a candle burning, and they're usually pretty dark and in very rich colors and really beautiful. All right, Cancer, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you so much for spending this time with me. It is always such an honor to be able to bring these messages to you. If you'd be so kind as to like the video, it really does help the channel so much. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next videos are coming out. It is free to subscribe. And if you want to leave a comment, please do. I read them all. They mean the world to me. And I just love getting to know you. Which I have. I've been so lucky to get to know a lot of people through the channel just in the short time I've been doing it. So definitely a huge blessing. And with that, Cancer, I will say good night. I love you. I love you. I love you. Take care of yourself. We'll talk in just a few days.